Well, let's discuss this major cabinet reshuffle by President Tinubu. Political affairs analyst Jide Ojo joins me on the news. Thank you very much, sir, for your time. Now, 5 ministers have been sacked so far. Are you surprised by any of the dismissals in particular? And what's your take on the newly appointed officials? And do you think that this reshuffle will have any significant difference?
That's the three in one question. I think you are being unfair to me to ask me 3 questions in one. But let me start from the first one you asked, whether I'm surprised. Of course, all ministers know that they serve at the prerogative of the president, and he can discharge them at any point in time. That's why sometimes I don't understand why someone will leave Senate to go and be minister when that person does not have a guarantee of being with the president for the entire period of his tenure. However, this cabinet reshuffle has laid to rest and has also proven the capability of Dr. Betta Edu, who was earlier relieved of appointment as Minister of Humanitarian Affairs early in the year. It shows that she has been given the soft landing of just being relieved of her position without any sanction beyond that. And what also surprised me is that women are the bigger casualty, if I can say that, bigger casualty in this. You have out of 6, because I would say 6 were actually relieved of their position. It's not 5, because Itato Betta Edu was on suspension. She was not removed. She was on suspension and could have been recalled. So if you put Betta Edu along with these 5, that means there are 4 women and 2 men that were affected. Again, the one that surprised me is the Ministry of Education, where the president have decided to remove the 2 ministers there, both the substantive and the Minister of State. Peradventure is because of the controversies over the minimum age of 18 and all of that. But the president did not offer any explanation. But I want to believe it's because of all this controversy that the Professor Taha courted by insisting that you cannot enter Nigerian University unless you are 18. And Mrs. Uju Ohane, Minister of Women Affairs, have also been in the news for the wrong reasons, particularly with female gender-focused NGOs. She was too emphatic on women empowerment than issue of policy and programs. But by and large, I commend them. They have gone into the history book as having served as Minister of the Federal Republic. The one that also surprised me is the fact that the president has now, let me say this, the president should have done this a bit earlier than now, for the singular reason that now, with the collapse of the removal of Ministry of, or the scrapping of Ministry of Sports, and then merging of Ministry of tourism with that of culture and creative economy, as well as the scrapping of Ministry of Niger Delta. This should have been done like a month or 2 earlier, because as we speak now, the budget for 2025 is already late to be presented to the National Assembly. Now with this restructuring, the Minister of Finance and the Minister of Budget and National Planning will have to withdraw whatever draft they have put together, because you now have to provide funds for the newly created Ministry of Livestock Development, and also the change of nomenclature of Ministry of Niger Delta to Ministry of Regional Affairs, as well as other things. But the one that surprised me most, which I was looking forward to, was the scrapping of Ministry of Police Affairs, which didn't happen. The way the president scrapped the Ministry of Sport, he should have also have the courage to to scrap Ministry of Police Affairs, because it is the same argument that the president put forward, that the National Sport Commission should take over the role of Minister of Sport. The same way, the Police Service Commission should have been allowed to take over the responsibility of Minister of Police Affairs. We don't need Minister of Police Affairs when we already have a constitutional body that is called Ministry and that is called Police Service Commission. So
I'm sorry to cut you short at this point, but very briefly now, let's talk about the scrapped Ministry of Niger Delta and the Ministry of Sports Development, like you earlier said, and also the merger of the Ministry of Tourism with the Ministry of Culture and Creative Economy. What are your thoughts?
Said that it's a welcome development. Even though I have issues with creating all these Niger Delta, all these development commissions, they are just another layer of bureaucracy that we can do away with and make sure that the state gets the funding to provide the needed development. But it's within the prerogative of Mr. President to have established development commission. So this new Ministry of Regional Development will now serve as oversighting body for all the regional development commissions. But the issue again is that we do not have in our constitution regional government, or we do not have it entrenched in the constitution, all these zones, the 6 geopolitical zones. We are just using it as an administrative convenience. And I think it's high time we just put it in our law to reflect that, okay, there are 6 geopolitical zones, and then name all the states that are in each of the zones. But right now, what the president has done is to validate the existence of these zones or these regions, the geopolitical zone. So now we have Ministry of Regional Development. So that in itself shows that we have to give legal teeth and recognition to the 6 geopolitical zones, which is not the current situation. So the Ministry of Sport, I just didn't like the idea that it seems like a demotion for the Minister of Sport, who was redeployed to be a Minister of State in the Ministry of Trade and Investment. They said he will not be in charge of industry. You know, there is a face-off and there is a tension between a Minister of State and the substantive minister. So when you move Enoh from being a substantive Minister of Sport, and you now go and make him a Minister of State under a woman, who, because it's Dr. Jumoke that will now be the substantive Minister of Trade and Investment. You now go and make Enoh, who has entered to be a substantive Minister of Sport, to go and serve as a junior minister under a woman. That will create tension. I know what I'm talking about. We are we are a society where we don't want a woman to boss us if we have our way. And I'm not too sure that Senator John Enoh will be happy with the redeployment as a Minister of State. But I congratulate Olawande, the junior minister in Youth Affairs, or Minister of Youth Development, who has now been elevated to substantive Minister of Youth. But I do not understand why the president could not have elevated the Minister of State for Labor and Productivity. Why she could not have been elevated to substantive minister, while whoever is appointed will now be Minister of State. But it's within all of this is within the prerogative of the president. So suffice to say that it is good that they are doing this before the submission of the 2025 budget, so that all the new ministries and the merged ones will now have their budget, and it will not be a situation where they will be looking for supplementary budget to fund the activities of the newly created ministries.
Well, Mr. Jide Ojo, political affairs analyst, many thanks for lending your honest thoughts to us on the news.